The novel opens with Mikael Blomkvist at the nadir of his professional life. As the co-owner and publisher of the investigative magazine Millennium, Blomkvist has built a reputation as a tenacious and ethical journalist, a watchdog for the powerful. However, this reputation is shattered when he loses a high-profile libel case against Hans-Erik Wennerström, a corrupt billionaire industrialist. Blomkvist, convinced of Wennerström's guilt but unable to produce legally admissible proof, is sentenced to a short prison term and ordered to pay crippling damages. Professionally humiliated and personally dejected, Blomkvist decides to step away from Millennium to protect the magazine's integrity. It is during this period of vulnerability that he receives an unexpected and cryptic offer from Henrik Wanga, the elderly former CEO of the Wanga Corporation, one of Sweden's most powerful industrial dynasties. Wanga hires Blomkvist under the guise of writing a family history, but his true objective is far more personal and obsessive: to solve the mystery of his beloved grandniece, Harriet Wanga, who vanished without a trace from the family's island estate in 1966. Wanga is convinced that Harriet was murdered by a member of their own deeply dysfunctional family, and for 4 decades he has been tormented by his inability to find her killer. The offer is lucrative and comes with a tantalizing promise. If Blomkvist can solve the mystery, Wanga will provide him with devastating information that will not only exonerate him, but also destroy Wennerström. Seeing a path to both professional and personal redemption, Blomkvist accepts the assignment and moves to the isolated, claustrophobic Hedeby Island, the Wanga family's ancestral home. Part 2. The Enigma of the Warded State. Lisbeth Salander. Running parallel to Blomkvist's story is the introduction of Lisbeth Salander. She is a figure of stark contrasts, a petite, 24-year-old woman with a punk goth aesthetic, piercings, tattoos, including the titular dragon on her back, and a confrontational demeanor, who possesses a genius-level intellect, a photographic memory, and unparalleled skills as a computer hacker. Legally, Salander is a ward of the state, declared mentally incompetent as a child after a violent, traumatic incident that is only hinted at. This legal status places her under the control of a court-appointed guardian who manages her finances and holds immense power over her life. Salander works as a freelance researcher for Milton Security, where her uncanny ability to unearth information makes her an invaluable, if unorthodox, asset. Her latest assignment is to conduct a deep background check on Mikael Blomkvist for Henrik Wanga's lawyer, Dirk Frode. Hacking into Blomkvist's personal computer, Salander compiles a report that goes far beyond public records, exposing his personal life, his professional ethics, and his affair with his co-editor, Erika Berger. Her assessment is that Blomkvist, despite his recent conviction, is a man of integrity. However, Salander's life takes a dark turn when her longtime benevolent guardian suffers a stroke and is replaced by a sadistic lawyer, Niels Bjurman. Bjurman uses his legal authority to control and abuse Salander, cutting off her access to her own money and, in a series of horrifying scenes, sexually assaulting her. This subplot is not merely incidental. It is a raw, unflinching depiction of the novel's central theme of male violence against women. But Bjurman gravely underestimates his victim. Salander, a survivor forged in trauma, does not break. Instead, she meticulously plans and executes a brutal revenge. She secretly videotapes his second assault, then uses the evidence to blackmail him, tasers him into submission, and tattoos "I am a sadistic pig, a rapist and a pervert" across his chest. This act of violent retribution reclaims her autonomy and establishes her as a character who operates by her own fierce, uncompromising code of justice when the system fails her. Part 3. The Wanga Conspiracy. An unlikely alliance. On Hedeby Island, Blomkvist immerses himself in the Wanga family's sordid history. The island is a locked-room mystery on a grand scale. Harriet disappeared on a day when the only bridge to the mainland was closed by an accident, meaning her killer had to be someone on the island, almost certainly a Wanga. The family is a gallery of grotesques, rife with old resentments, Nazi sympathies dating back to the 1930s, and a pervasive atmosphere of decay and secrets. Blomkvist methodically sifts through decades of old documents, police reports, and photographs, but makes little headway. His breakthrough comes from a series of enigmatic clues Harriet left behind, a list of names and numbers in her diary. Frustrated, Blomkvist realizes he needs a research assistant with unconventional skills. Remembering the thoroughness of the background check done on him, he asks Frode to identify the researcher. This leads him to Lisbeth Salander. Intrigued by the puzzle, Salander begins working with Blomkvist remotely. Her digital prowess quickly uncovers what decades of conventional investigation missed. She discovers that the names and numbers in Harriet's diary correspond to a series of gruesome, unsolved murders of women across Sweden, each linked to a specific verse from the Old Testament book of Leviticus. They realize they are not searching for a single murderer from 1966. They are hunting a serial killer whose activities spanned decades. This revelation transforms the cold case into a terrifyingly active threat. Salander, drawn deeper into the mystery and developing a grudging respect for Blomkvist's decency, travels to Hedeby Island to work with him directly. Their partnership is the heart of the novel. It is a relationship built on professional synergy rather than romance. Blomkvist is one of the first men to treat Salander with respect, valuing her mind without judging her appearance or past. In turn, Salander slowly, tentatively begins to trust him, allowing him glimpses into her guarded world. Part 4. The Climax and Revelation. Their investigation points them toward the dark history of the Vanger men, particularly Harriet's father Gottfried and her brother Martin. They discover that Gottfried was a violent sadist, and that his twisted legacy was passed down to his son. Suspecting Martin Vanger, the current CEO of the Vanger Corporation, Blomkvist confronts him, only to be captured. The novel's climax takes place in Martin's pristine, soundproofed basement, which is revealed to be a meticulously designed torture chamber. Martin confesses that he and his father were responsible for the decades-long series of murders, targeting women in religiously motivated, ritualistic killings. He admits to killing dozens of women, but denies killing his sister, Harriet. As he prepares to kill Blomkvist, Salander, having sensed something was wrong, bursts in and saves him in a blaze of violent fury, incapacitating Martin with a golf club. Martin flees in his car, and in the ensuing chase, he crashes and is killed in a fiery explosion. The primary mystery, however, remains unresolved. If Martin didn't kill Harriet, what happened to her? By piecing together the final clues, Blomkvist and Salander deduce the truth. Harriet was not murdered. She was systematically abused by her father and brother. On the day she disappeared, she finally killed her father in self-defense and escaped the island with the help of her cousin Anita. Fearing retribution from Martin, she has been living in hiding under Anita's name in Australia for nearly 40 years. Blomkvist tracks her down, leading to an emotional reunion between Harriet and an overjoyed Henrik Vanger. The Vanger case is finally closed. Part Phi, Redemption and Revenge, the Wennerström Affair. With the Harriet Vanger mystery solved, the narrative pivots to resolve its opening conflict. True to his word, Henrik Vanger provides Blomkvist with the information he promised. However, Salander, who sees the world in starker, more effective terms, takes matters into her own hands. Using the skills she has honed over a lifetime of digital survival, she executes a brilliant and complex hack on Wennerström's corporate empire. She uncovers a vast network of gun running, drug trafficking, and financial fraud, documenting every illegal transaction. She gives this unimpeachable evidence to Blomkvist, who publishes a bombshell exposé in Millennium, complete with a book detailing Wennerström's crimes. The story becomes a national sensation. Blomkvist's reputation is restored, Millennium is saved, and Wennerström is ruined, later found dead in an apparent suicide. But Salander's involvement does not end there. In a final act of personal justice and financial liberation, she uses her knowledge of Wennerström's illicit offshore accounts to electronically siphon away billions of kroner, securing her own independence forever. She is no longer a ward of the state, but a wealthy, untraceable woman in complete control of her own destiny. The novel concludes on a poignant, bittersweet note. Salander, having developed complex feelings for Blomkvist, buys him a Christmas present, intending to see him. However, as she approaches his apartment, she sees him happy with Erika Berger. Misinterpreting their long-standing friendship and affair, the fiercely independent and emotionally scarred Salander feels rejected. She throws the gift away and walks off into the night, alone once more, setting the stage for the subsequent novels in the trilogy. Thematic analysis and conclusion. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is a novel driven by powerful, resonant themes. Its original Swedish title, Men Who Hate Women, is a direct statement of its central concern. The pervasive and often invisible violence, physical, sexual, and systemic, perpetrated against women. This is explored through Harriet's abuse, the victims of the serial killer, and most powerfully, through Salander's ordeal with Björman and her subsequent revenge. Salander becomes an avenging angel, a vigilante who delivers a brutal form of justice that the legal system is unwilling or unable to provide. The novel is also a sharp critique of corruption at the highest levels of society. The Wennerström plotline exposes the rot within the financial world, while the Wanger family represents the decay of the old industrial elite, whose respectable facade conceals a history of fascism, incest, and murder. Larsson uses investigative journalism, embodied by Blomkvist and Millennium, as the primary weapon against this corruption, championing the power of information to hold the powerful accountable. At its core, however, the novel is a character study of two outsiders. Blomkvist, the principled but flawed idealist, and Salander, the brilliant but emotionally shattered survivor, represent two different forms of justice and morality. Their partnership, a fusion of traditional investigation and modern cyber sleuthing, creates a new kind of detective duo for the 21st century. In conclusion, Stieg Larsson's The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is a masterwork of the Nordic noir genre. It transcends its etiology as a crime novel by weaving a complex tapestry of social commentary, intricate plotting, and unforgettable character development. It is a dark, brutal, and yet ultimately hopeful story about the resilience of the human spirit in the face of profound evil. And it cemented Lisbeth Salander as an enduring feminist icon for a new generation.